What is a truth about life that you wish more people understood?
No one is thinking about you. Everyone's in their own tornado of How many nights can you go to bed dreading the next day? I was 8 months pregnant and was on the floor of the kitchen, and I was weeping. He walked into the kitchen, saw me on the floor, shook his head, and walked away. If you're not happy, what are you doing it for?
In this video, I'll be interviewing 44-year-old Mory Fontanez. Mory is a former Fortune 500 crisis management leader, helping companies navigate some of their biggest scandals. Now, at the peak of her career, making the most money she had ever made, she goes through her own crises, and it leads her down a path she never knew she'd be on. Mory's story is relatable and realistic. It could, or maybe has happened to you. And the lessons she shares, they make sense. And if we don't learn them soon enough, I think could lead us to one of the worst moments of our life. So, without further ado, buckle up for this one.
How old are you?
I'm 44.
What does it feel like to be 44?
Really great. I'm giving less and less of every year. I did a lot of work on myself in my 30s. I made a lot of really hard decisions, and I can be in ease now.
What's a hard decision that you made that shaped who you are today?
It was a series of really hard choices. The first was leaving my marriage with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And then from there, I was a single mom and the sole breadwinner. And then I left my career of 20 years. And I did that back to back in the series of a couple years. And so there was a ton of little tiny hard decisions in there, but those were the big leaps.
What do we need to know about your childhood, the way that you were raised, in order to understand the version of you that we are listening to today?
I was born into crisis. My parents fled Iran prior to the Iranian Revolution in 1979. They were getting like their masters in New Mexico and had a 9-year-old and then got pregnant. And it was sure not planned. And my dad felt really strongly that a baby was not going to help things, that they were already under a lot of pressure. And so my mom tells the story of him sort of taking her to the hospital and being like, this has to happen. We can't have this baby. And she starts crying. And the doctor's like, I'm not doing this if you're upset.
Wow.
That story matters because it has shaped a lot of the belief systems I had about myself as a kid. You know, that feeling from him and the pressure and the stress carried through. I really feel like from that young age, I sort of made a contract with my mom. You could feel that chaos. You could feel that heartbreak. You could feel that desperation for safety and love that existed in a war zone, in a place where you're separated from your family by thousands of miles, and then in a divorce. And so fast forward to my career, I became a crisis manager because it was just so inherent to my story to be in chaos.
So you're close with your mom, but I guess not as close with your dad?
No, yeah, I'm not close to my dad. My dad said something really interesting to me once. We've made a repair, and one time we were at lunch and he said, I was never meant to be a dad or a husband.
Was that freeing to hear that?
Very freeing. It's so important to your ability to heal the part of yourself that feels that you need that person when you can see that person as an individual. It allows you to be free of this, whatever story you've created. Like, I might have had a story that I wasn't good enough for him. People pleasing, I think, is something we all need to look inside of ourselves and see if we do. And is that the way I want to live this one glorious life?
You were saying earlier you left a marriage. Did that apply?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was why I got married to begin with. But we got married at 25 because, one, I wanted that stability that didn't exist in my family. But I also could see where he needed love and care and to be fixed. There were so many parts of him that were broken that I thought I could fix. And we got into this silent agreement with each other that he didn't have to fill the holes in his own self, that I was going to do it. And that only works for so long because then you start to disappear.
Was there a moment where you had a flash realization that you were in this relationship that wasn't working for you?
There's a moment that I talk about in the book that I wrote where I was 8 months pregnant with my second child and was on the floor of the kitchen. We had just gotten into a fight, the same fight we'd always have. And I was weeping. He walked into the kitchen, saw me on the floor, shook his head, and walked away. And this voice broke through that was like, it doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to live this diminished, which is why I talk about higher self so much, because that was my higher self. Here's the thing. People get worried about listening to that voice, to their intuition, because they believe they've got to do something about it. Actually, you don't have to do anything. You just have to be open to it, because the more open to it you are, the more it speaks to you. And then when you're ready to do something, it will help you do that thing. There's this quote I love. And the day came where the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Like, think about that. There is that moment that comes that you're like, oh, actually the thing I'm afraid of feels easier and better and freer than this contraction that felt more comfortable.
You were doing well for yourself financially when you quit your job?
Very.
How did you decide to give up this career knowing you were making a lot?
There comes a point when you're laying your head down on the pillow. How many nights can you go to bed dreading the next day? What happens is the limiting belief from that younger self says, you need the security. Like, how dare you? So many people would kill to be in your role at this firm. But if you're not happy, what are you doing it for? For me, it resulted in depression. I was just riding the Acela up here from DC and looking out the window, and I posted about it because I thought, 9 years ago, I used to take this train every week, and I was starting to disassociate. And I remember at that time, my partner, now my husband, I'm remarried, saying to me, I'm getting a little worried. You're going away, and you have 2 little kids, and you're just not here anymore. And that was my moment of like, oh no, I can't do that to them.
When I started this, I went back to basically the park that was next to where I used to work, interviewed people outside there. I'm now at the place that made me feel the worst, doing something that makes me feel the best. I used to listen to the Queen's I Want to Break Free, walking every day to the office because oh my God, I hated it.
You know what? I used to run in the morning to the Beyonce song Freedom. The 6 months before I left every morning.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
As I was reading, one of the points you made that was super interesting is you were saying, I'm paraphrasing, but corporations prioritize external validation over purpose.
Yeah. It's about authority at the top. This is the way we behave, and here's how you prove your value. Go interview. Go get a job offer. Bring it back. Like, it's okay to check your value out there. Don't let me, who's got a budget that I've got to submit, where you're just a line and I've got to make sure your salary adds up. Don't let me define your value from an Excel spreadsheet. No one is thinking about you. Everyone's in their own tornado. Go figure it out.
How do you change your mentality to be solution-oriented or positive-oriented?
Well, it starts with the size of the beat-up stick you're using to beat yourself up. And I ask that you just set that down for a minute. Do you have a kid? Do you have a brother or sister? Think of someone who's 7 or 8. Would you talk to that kid that way? Because this thing that you created in yourself that you hate so much, you created when you were 7. So now it's like you're beating up on the 7-year-old. The 7-year-old's just trying to understand this very uncontrollable world. And it really starts with that kind of deep compassion for yourself, where you're accepting all parts of you, where you're able to see something like, oh, I have envy. Instead of being so ashamed of that envy when I look at you, Will, what it is to me now is, oh, that's a clue of something I desire. Thank you, envy. Rather than this contentious relationship we get into with envy, where it's a deadly sin.
Okay, if I circle back, you said you are remarried now.
Yeah.
What was different in him?
TJ, from the minute I met him, saw me as my higher self and loved it and celebrated it. Never should marriage be about control, about don't be yourself to make me feel better. Be a smaller version of yourself because I can't handle the magnitude of your awesomeness. That's not a partnership.
Can you define the word love?
Love is wanting everything you want for yourself in the core of your being for the other person, no matter whether you benefit from it or not.
There's so many people who have dating problems. What do you say to that person to find who they want to find?
We chase out of a place of desperation. If you're feeling desperate, there's a little version who thinks they're not lovable. If you can do the work to take care of that one, she's not going to make you chase for that validation. And so from that hole inside you, you're trying to constantly get validation that you matter. How do you do that? Hey, you didn't text me back. Did you want to go out again? No, I haven't heard from you. You are trying
You tell them don't double text?
Well, I don't get that specific because I'm like, you have the wisdom inside you. But when I remind you that you need to be dignified, you will do the dignified thing. When you're rooted in the inherent belief that you are there's nothing more attractive than that.
What is one thing that when you were younger, you put a lot of importance on, and as you've gone older, you realized wasn't that important?
You mean besides like New Kids on the Block? Do you even know who they are? Wow.
Told everyone I'm in my 20s. Told you guys.
New Kids on the Block is one of the first white boy bands. What did I care about? As a person of color, as an immigrant growing up in the U.S., I learned to assimilate. Yeah. And I think I care a lot less about being palatable to others. I think I really see the way that I'm different as like my most incredible strengths. I grew up with my mom saying Iranians are the original Caucasians, like such a point of pride, right? Like talk about internalized racism. And so she'd be like, circle white on the application. I was like, okay, weird. Yeah. Like I'm definitely not. But that's the way we were trained to like have value, I think.
Yeah. So this is your journal entry.
Look, reading my handwriting.
I know. I opened it up for the first time and I'm like, this is going to be a little harder than I thought.
Yeah.
You rated yourself on 10, 7. What makes your day or your current self a 7?
I live with anxiety. Today, I woke up with it on high.
How come? Because you knew you were going to...
It was you.
Yeah.
No, I didn't take care of myself last night. My bestie and I went out and had a few margs. Sometimes when you don't sleep well, it kicks in.
And here you shared one piece of life advice for today. I can read it. Why is that the life advice you chose to write?
I said recognizing your limits makes you stronger, not weaker. I think that there's a pride in not admitting where you have limits. And for me, it's like, I can do anything, but I am in a human body, which is a limitation right there. And so sometimes recognizing your limits just means you're going to take care of yourself and add to your own life force to make yourself more helpful to yourself and others. And that's what makes you stronger. It doesn't make you weak.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was super fun.
That was awesome.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, guess what? We actually released the full-length interview, every single second of advice, on our podcast channel, Seeds of Success. You can check out the full interview by clicking the link right over here and subscribing. Thanks again, and see you next week.